issue has exciting surprises, challenging games and puzzles, inspiring stories about other kids, plus extra-large pull-out pages. What a wonderful opportunity to introduce children to world and everything it offers. And when you call with your gift order, we'll mail a special personalized gift card from you. Call 1-800-257-1257. That's 1-800-257-1257.
This is CNN.
In Algeria, security forces are in the street, elections are called off, and now Islamic fundamentalists are preparing the people for a power struggle.
The children of Iraq, many are sick and suffering a year after the Gulf War. We'll have a live update from CNN's John Holliman.
And Mideast peace talks resume in Washington with a move out of a corridor into a conference room. Welcome to our viewers around the world. I'm Catherine Crier.
And I'm Frank Sesno. Thanks for joining us. In just 3 days, it will be 1 year ago that Operation Desert Shield became Operation Desert Storm. And in Iraq's capital, Baghdad, CNN's John Holliman watched as it happened.
This is eerie. But it looks like a 4th of July display at the Washington Monument. The sky is just brightly lighted with all these tracer rounds. Some are red, some are white. We can see explosions, air burst explosions from these weapons. Oh, now there's a huge fire that we've just seen that is due west of our position. And we just heard, whoa, holy cow. That was a large air burst that we saw. It was filling the sky.
That was just about 1 year ago. And now John Holliman has returned to Baghdad, and he joins us now. John, Baghdad looks a little bit different, but what has changed you, what strikes you the most a year later?
Frank, it's a much different Baghdad that I'm reporting to you from tonight. As you can tell from what you can see around me, it's very quiet here. The skies are not illuminated at all. In fact, it's a cloudy evening in the capital of Iraq. And while the scenes on the street here look about the same as they looked a year ago, the atmosphere is much different. The people of Iraq are suffering now under the United Nations imposed embargo, which is designed to get Iraq to comply with a number of United Nations resolutions. But in fact, it's very, very strange here now. There are unique security programs in effect. It's difficult to come and go into major hotels, including the hotel where CNN is based, without having people look at you and sometimes even examine the baggage that you're bringing into the hotel. Since the ceasefire, more than 10 months ago, United Nations inspectors have been coming into Iraq, performing surprise inspections for weapons of mass destruction, things like biological weapons, chemical weapons, and especially evidence of an Iraqi nuclear weapons program, which is of terrific concern all over the world. On Saturday, a new team of nuclear inspectors arrived here. Mauricio Ziffereo heads that team, and he joins us to talk about what I think, Mr. Ziffereo, may be a potential breakthrough in discovery about the Iraqi nuclear program. Tell me what's happened to you and your team since you arrived here on Saturday.
Well, it's true. We came here after having gathered information, recent information, which were given to us by the German government on its own initiative on the extent of procurement that Iraqi had made in Germany prior to the war. And together with other information, this prompted us to approach our counterpart and ask questions and provide evidence. And much to our surprise, this time the reply were rather interesting and conclusive, in as much as they allowed us to map what remained of the gray areas of the nuclear Iraqi program, especially the centrifuge program for the production of highly enriched uranium.
And the centrifuge program is the most modern, most advanced program for producing bomb-grade nuclear material, isn't it?
Right, it's the state-of-the-art technology nowadays.
And what can you tell us about how far along that path the Iraqis were? Were they very close? Were they able to make enriched uranium using this method?
Well, they initially declared to us a very modest research and development program in this area, essentially centered on laboratory scale work, developing of some type of models of centrifuge. But it then, after the first inspection, when they admitted the construction of a manufacturing facility for large quantities of centrifuge, we realized that this program aimed at some industrial capacity of production.
So big production, major
So
production.
major production. And the gap was, of course, that they were on their own, and we wanted to prove that they had some stockpile of the essential material for manufacturing this centrifuge, and this is where the German statement, the German information came very handy.
So the Germans found out that some of their manufacturers had shipped this centrifuge equipment to Iraq.
Well, yes, I wouldn't say exactly centrifuge equipment, although in some cases this occurred. But the stockpile I'm referring at is the basic strategic material like alloys, special steels, special aluminum alloys, some magnetic material for preparing centrifuge rotors. All these kind of things, when presented to the counterpart, to the Iraqi counterpart, sort of convinced them that it was high time now to come forward and to explain to us the real extent of the program.
Are you more convinced than ever now that the United Nations inspection program will be able to prevent the Iraqis from developing a nuclear bomb?
Well, I would say that most of the material and of the physical resources have been dismantled or destroyed. Of course, you cannot remove the know-how they have acquired in the meantime, so that a very thorough monitoring program of the future activities is needed, is necessary, and is provided for in the Resolution 687.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, the most important solution will be the political one, that is, as foreshadowed in Resolution 687, the establishment of a nuclear-free zone. This would be the real solution.
Dr. Ziffereo, thank you very much for joining us today. I want to also talk about the rest of the weapons of mass destruction program. United Nations. You were here in...
Well, as you can tell, we're experiencing some technical difficulty with our line from Baghdad just now. We're going to try to work that out, and we will try to rejoin John Holliman in just a few moments.
Sold!
Let's say you bought a painting. Let's say Van Gogh's sunflowers. Let's say you used the Discover card. You'd have a little money coming back. Because with the Discover card, every single charge earns an annual cashback bonus.
Nice.
It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
This is ordinary bulk fiber. It's full of grit. This is new Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. The grit is gone because it's triple ground for smoothness. This is ordinary fiber. The grit is definitely not gone. This is new Sunrise Smooth Metamucil, the best mixing, smoothest tasting natural fiber you can buy. The grit is gone. New Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. For regularity, nothing works better. And the grit is gone.
You wanna accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. Tune in to the affirmative, the family channel, yes indeed.
Nobody captures life on the positive side like the Family Channel.
You wanna accentuate the positive, the family channel, yes indeed.
At Long John Silver's, you're gonna get your wish. Go chicken!
Chicken?
Chicken at Long John's? Yeah, and right now our chicken and fish combo is just $1.99.
Go chicken! Fish!
Long John Silver's!
On CNN Today, honoring cable's best. Highlights from this year's ACE Awards on Showbiz Today. Then on The World Today, labeling food so kids know what they're eating. All today on CNN.
And fortunately, we have been able to reestablish that clean line with John Holliman in Baghdad, looking back at the situation there and ahead a year after about the start of the Gulf War. John, take it away.
Frank, we're now joined by Robert Gallucci, another member of the United Nations inspection team, which has been in Iraq looking for weapons of mass destruction. Mr. Gallucci, how would you assess the job that your team, the overall team, has done thus far in controlling Iraq's weapons of mass destruction?
I think we've been moving over the last 8 or 9 months from a process of searching for the weapons, taking those which were declared and then searching for additional ones, and then destroying not only the weapons but the capacity to produce them in the biological weapons, chemical weapons, ballistic missile area, to a situation which over time will edge into verifying, monitoring Iraq's compliance with its obligation not to acquire these same weapons in the future.
The Iraqis tell me one of their 2 major goals right now is to get rid of you, to get the United Nations out of Iraq, and that their other major goal is to be allowed to export oil, which will allow them to get money to continue life as normal here. Is it very much for you like playing a game of cat and mouse with the Iraqis? I mean, are they definite opponents here rather than cooperators?
I've heard the cat and mouse metaphor before, but there have been times when it wasn't clear who was the cat and who was the mouse. I'd say that we have been engaged in a bit of an iterative process in which we have been pursuing them in some cases, and they have been resistant, particularly in the nuclear area. In other cases, they've been particularly helpful. For instance, the enormous problem they have and we have with the disposal of chemical weapons stockpile. But we overall, I think, are moving in the right direction. There are still problems. There are problems in the ballistic missile area. There are problems in providing assurances ultimately over the chemical weapons stockpile. But generally, I'd say we're moving in the right direction. The major problem, I think, still remains in the nuclear area, but we're addressing that as well.
How long will it take till you can be sure that the Iraqis have no capability in the mass destruction weapon area, or will you ever be sure?
I think that question gets at the essence of Resolution 687, which is a portion of the resolution that requires that a regime be established to monitor Iraq's compliance into the future with the obligation, as I said before, not to acquire these weapons in the future. Obviously, we can't know what we don't know. We will do the very best we can with a very comprehensive inspection regime, and then we'll be monitoring Iraq and verifying its compliance with the resolution.
Robert Gallucci, Mauricio, Ziffereo, thank you both for being with us this evening on CNN. John Holliman, CNN Live in Baghdad. Frank?
Thanks, John, very much. We'll be hearing from you a little bit later on as well. And up next, rising tensions in Algeria. The new military-backed government is accused of treason by Islamic fundamentalists. Still ahead.
16 candles, though we gotta say goodbye.
Hi. Maybe no one ever forgets prom night because of all the great memories. Well, Sessions brings back all those great memories with a new 4-record album called Senior Prom. Just listen.
Roses are red, my love. Dream, 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 dream. Oh, Donna. No, 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 him. They ask me how I knew when I fall in love.
Senior Prom has 50 of the dreamiest hits ever.
Come with me, my love. Hey, hey, brother. Many a tear has to fall.
Senior Prom also has classic hits by Brooke Benton, Connie Francis, Sam Cooke, Mark Dinning, the 4 Freshmen, and Paul Anka.
Put your head on my shoulder. So darling, darling, stand by me. You lost that love and one summer night.
But too late. This incredible 4-record and 3-cassette treasury is yours for only $19.95. 2 compact discs, only $24.95. Here's how to order.
Call toll-free 1-800-227-7200 or 1-800-638-6300 or save COD fees by sending $19.95 for 4 records of 3 cassettes or $24.95 for 2 compact discs plus $404 shipping and handling to Senior Prom, P.O. Box 4444, Colorado Springs, Colorado 80934.
In Algeria today, the Islamic Salvation Front says it's being robbed of an election victory by the country's new military-backed rulers. The fundamentalist party is urging Muslims to be ready for all eventualities to save the country. It's the front's first official reaction to a decree calling off elections, which were expected to give Islamic fundamentalists firm control of the parliament. Liz Donnelly reports from Algiers.
With the army out in the streets guarding strategically important sites in Algiers, the country's first move to democracy since independence has come to an abrupt halt. All key buildings in the city are being defended, but despite the precautions, there was an air of calm in the city today. Everyone's waiting to see if the Muslim fundamentalists who'd expected to win Thursday's elections will take the law into their own hands and fight. On the streets, bearded supporters of the Islamic Salvation Front protested that democracy had been snatched away from them. Their leaders met furtively behind closed doors to decide on their next move after issuing a warning to the government and army.
The latest news from the FIS is that they're calling on workers and soldiers and intellectuals to join with them against the government and its despotism. They've called the resignation of the president unconstitutional. This afternoon, talking to Islamic supporters in the slums, they're very much behind their leadership and they're very much behind their call that good Muslims in the army should join with them against the government.
Algeria is now under the control of the High Security Council, which appears to be dominated by the army. The council took over after the unexpected resignation of President Chadli Benjedid at the weekend. Almost the first move the new council made was to cancel the final round of elections scheduled for Thursday. Last month, in the first round of elections, the Islamic Salvation Front, which advocates strict adherence to Muslim law, beat 48 other parties, finishing just short of an overall parliamentary majority. And this deeply alarmed the authorities. But these elections were the freest to be held in the Muslim world for a long time. The intervention of the army to stop them could have serious implications.
It's a dangerous intervention. The bulk of the Algerian army is both poor and Islamic. It's possible that it might rebel against the wishes of its senior officers. It might go over to the Islamic side, and in that case, we might have a huge eruption on our hands, reminiscent of the last days of the government of the Shah before Ayatollah Khomeini took over.
It's nearly 30 years since Algerians finally defeated the French in their war of independence, which lasted 6 years and cost the lives of more than 1 million of their people. The bitterness of this struggle led to great hopes of freedom. But the reality is that ever since, Algeria has been a one-party state, ruled by the FLN, the National Liberation Front, in effect a military dictatorship. 4 years ago, dissatisfaction with the FLN's economic policy led to riots in Algiers and calls for democratic reform from Muslim opposition groups. Last month's vote showed the Islamic Salvation Front was far more popular than any other party.
It's a classic case. Expanding population, its aspirations not answered by a secular state which has been suffering from the sluggish economy of a socialist model run on the Soviet model, 30 years of corruption endemic in the rule of a single-party state looking west. Therefore, communism has been discredited. The recent reforms seen as capitalistic have not borne fruit. What is there? Islam.
Not all Algerians are in favor of the Islamic Salvation Front, which has said that only widowed and divorced women will be allowed to work if it takes power, a move which could cause severe economic hardship to many families. In the next few days, events in Algiers will be watched very closely in the outside world, especially by Arab governments fearful of opening the way to democracy in their own countries, and by ordinary Muslims sceptical of ever getting what they want through the ballot box.
The U.S. today is voicing concern about what it calls the interruption of the electoral process in Algeria, and the United States is urging all parties in that country to stay calm and resolve the situation peacefully.
Meanwhile, Iran's Vice President Hassan Habibi says his nation is watching events in Algeria very closely. Iran, of course, had an Islamic revolution of its own back in 1979. Habibi was quoted by the Islamic Republic News Agency today as saying Tehran will not interfere in Algeria. Yesterday, Iranian radio raised some eyebrows, saying the Islamic fundamentalists of Algeria might resort to arms if elections were canceled.
And still ahead, from the corridor to the conference room, how a few small steps at the State Department could turn into a giant step in the Middle East peace process.
Some people don't know it, but they're paying too much in taxes. Take these two, identical in many ways. Similar homes, similar income, similar investments. But one could be paying 28% more tax on his savings and investment income. That's over $200 on every $800 earned. The other called Fidelity Investments toll-free and found out how to invest tax-free in this free fact kit on Fidelity tax-free funds. It shows you how to earn income that's 100% free from federal income taxes. And in some states, your income may be free from state and local taxes too. And there's no sales charge, which means all your money is working for you. So call for your free fact kit on Fidelity Investments tax-free funds. Call right now and you'll also get this bonus booklet, Understanding Tax-Free Investing. See how Fidelity gives you the facts you need to make up your own mind without pressure.
Hello, Fidelity?
Keep more of what you earn. Call 1-800-328-4100 today. Fidelity Investments, common sense, uncommon results.
Campbell's heard your healthy request.
Low fat.
Less salt.
But lots of taste.
Here's our answer. New Campbell's Healthy Request ready-to-serve soups. All the great taste you want without some things you don't. New Campbell's Healthy Request. And healthy.
There's constipation and there's constipation.
Oh, yeah.
When it's this bad, take it to the max. New Maximum Relief Formula X-Lax pills with 50% more X-Lax medicine for maximum relief.
Oh, yeah.
Take it to the max.
Imagine election coverage that offered straight talk on candidates, their voting records, their stand on issues. This year, don't imagine. Watch Campaign USA 92, only on CNN.
The Middle East peace talks resume today in Washington with signs of progress in talks between the Israelis and Palestinians, but signs of a setback in Israel's negotiations with Syria. CNN's Candy Crowley's been following the progress of the talks, and she joins us now from the State Department. Candy?
Catherine, in Middle East peace talks, where progress is often measured in minute quantities, there does appear to have been some movement. It began to unfold early this morning, Monday morning, at the State Department when the head of the Israeli delegation and heads of the joint Jordanian-Palestinian delegation arrived at the State Department and went into a meeting room, rather than using the hallway where they had held previous discussions. And several hours later, the Palestinians announced agreement on a procedural problem, an agreement which Palestinians say will allow them to speak for themselves.
The fact that there is going to be according to the letter of invitation and by admission of the Israeli side, an Israeli-Palestinian track which would deal with Palestinian matters, including the transitional phase, is extremely serious. It means that they have recognized the fact that only Palestinians can speak for themselves and negotiate on their behalf, and that if they want to solve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict or issues, they have to speak directly to Palestinians and to nobody else.
No matter how this agreement gets translated by Israel, and we have not yet heard from her, it does appear that these talks can now move off the procedural and on to substance, and are expected to do so later this afternoon. Meanwhile, another arm of these negotiations, the Syrian-Israeli talks, are, needless to say, not going well.
We are greatly disappointed. It is really an exercise in futility, where the Israeli side returned again to the question of venue, where we have to move from here, and we haven't even started the discussion.
But Israel says its problems with the Syrians go far beyond the Picayune.
We showed them a map which is being used in the schools in Syria where Israel does not exist. And we told them that this is the basic problem, that Syria denies the legitimacy and existence of Israel. And we have to overcome this insurmountable obstacle before we talk the substance of the agreement between the two states.
Though the rhetoric is fairly bleak, it is also fairly predictable. A bit more worrisome at this point is an Arab threat to walk out of these talks completely if Israel follows through on its threat to deport an additional 12 Palestinians from the occupied territories. Candy Crowley, CNN Live at the State Department.
The deportation hearings that threatened to scuttle the Middle East peace talks are now underway, and the defense claims the Israeli military is concealing crucial evidence. The 12 Palestinians ordered out of the occupied territories are appealing the decision in 2 different military hearings. Both hearings are open to the public, the first time ever in a deportation case. But the military commission today decided to keep secret much of the evidence against the 12 Palestinians because of security concerns.
In Northern Ireland, 1 man is dead today, the victim of a car bomb. It exploded under his car in the early morning hours. No one's claimed responsibility, and police say the man had no known connection to security forces. The outlawed Irish Republican Army has stepped up attacks in Northern Ireland recently. 3 people have died there since the 1st of January. In Poland, the pain of free market reforms has a price. The Solidarity Trade Union staged a 1-hour strike today to protest increased energy prices. Trains and buses came to a standstill in parts of the country as workers demanded the government suspend price hikes which went into effect January 1st. Gas prices shot up 70%, electricity up 20% as part of the Prime Minister's plan to free prices. An anti-communist philosopher faces a runoff this week in the race to become Bulgaria's next president. Žilo Želev received almost 45% of the vote in yesterday's election. It was the first time Bulgarians could choose their head of state. A former communist finished second in the race, but Želev is expected to pick up most of the votes from the third-place candidate in the runoff this Sunday.
And ahead on CNN World Report, picking up the pieces in the aftermath of Cambodia's 13-year civil war.
AT&T is constantly searching for new ways to help our customers save money on long distance. What we've recently discovered is remarkably simple. Those customers who spend over $11 a month on out-of-state long distance could start saving right away by signing up for one of the AT&T Reach Out America plans. If you spend over $11 a month, you could save on long distance too. All it takes is one call to 1-800-248-3322. You'll learn how you could save 24 hours a day, 25% on calls made after 5 p.m., and on some plans enjoy a daytime discount too.
They were pretty good customers.
Who are you talking to?
If you spend over $11 a month on long distance, there's a Reach Out America plan that could help you save.
Honey, that sounded pretty good. Why don't we sign up?
We just did.
Great. Who do we call?
Call 1-800-248-3322 and sign up for a Reach Out America plan.
International Hour continues, followed by Early Prime after this local commercial break. Next on CNN.
Hi, I'm Max Holmes. My father told me that when people buy cars, they want the best price, and after the sale, they want the best service. We've sold tens of thousands of cars, all at the best price, and we've built the largest, best-equipped service facilities in the Midwest. So if you aren't happy with the deal we offer or the service work we do for you, call me. We'll work it out. The best price and the best service, it's all here, just the way my father would have done it.
It was a dinner unlike any dinner ever held before.
I once caddied for the National Amateur.
27 different religious groups.
Where does it begin? Where does it begin, the whole concept of peace?
Joining together to celebrate the success of their TV channel. That the channel lasted even a day surprised many.
Now stop me if you've heard this one, if it responds to any Jewish story.
But with a little faith and some financial help from TCI,
I heard it.
Vision is now catching on.
Let me tell you the punchline. Let me tell you the punchline. Wait until we're started.
This is CNN.
And now for a look at the day's financial and business news, we go to Beverly Schuch at the New York Stock Exchange. Beverly.
Thanks, Frank. Investors are selling on Wall Street, continuing Friday's downturn. The blue chips have been in negative territory for most of the session. but they're off their lows for the day. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 7 points at 3191. The Dow had been down 21 points earlier. Volume once again very heavy, 180 million shares traded so far. The broader and secondary markets are lower. Rather, the secondary markets are higher, the broaders are lower. Wall Street is reacting to reports that Dow Corning delayed tests on its silicone breast implants. Corning stock is down 9 3/4 points, but shares of Dow Chemical, Corning's partner in the venture, are little changed. Meanwhile, Delta Airlines is up 1 7/8. Most airline stocks are bouncing back from Friday's sell-off. Hitachi is down $1 a share. Shares of many Japanese companies traded here are lower today. The Tokyo stock market's Nikkei average was down 3% overnight. Chevron is up 2 1/8. Most major oil stocks are higher today. Oil stocks gaining because oil prices are rebounding from big recent losses. An industry newspaper says OPEC may vote to cut production and boost prices at a meeting next month. That news has pushed the price of a barrel of light sweet crude up 58 cents to $18.81 a barrel in New York trading. The sons of the late Robert Maxwell appeared before the British Parliament today. They were supposed to answer questions about millions of dollars missing from Maxwell's company pension funds. But instead, Kevin and Ian refused to testify on the grounds that they might incriminate themselves. And finally, the dollar is mostly lower today after huge gains last week. It is now down 1 cent against the British pound, down 3/4 of a penny against the German mark, and the dollar is down fractionally against the Japanese currency. And that's the latest in business news. One last check shows that the Dow is down still 7 points. We will have the closing numbers from Wall Street in less than 1 hour. I'm Beverly Schuch at the New York Stock Exchange.
And when we come back, some of Iraq's youngest still feeling the effects of the war.
I was afraid of the computer, but with Quicken, it's easy to use.
I never worry about money now that I use Quicken.
Yes, Quicken, the world's #1 selling financial software and the fastest, easiest way to organize your home and small business finances. Quicken pays bills, balances checkbooks, cuts tax time, tracks investments. And it's simple. If you can use a checkbook, you can use Quicken because your screen looks exactly like your checkbook. Just type in the payee, the amount, and Quicken does the rest. Every transaction is automatically categorized. A keystroke gives you detailed reports like income and expenses, showing where your money goes, monthly budgets, and more.
Quicken just reconciled my whole bank statement in 2 minutes.
So if you have an IBM or compatible PC with DOS or Windows or a Mac, here's an incredible offer. Quicken's price is $69.95. But call this number and Quicken is yours to try for 30 days for just $8. If not satisfied, mail back this card and Quicken is yours to keep. We won't charge you the balance. Call now.
Call 1-800-251-4200.
This dry skin itch, won't anything stop it fast?
Lanacaine will. Lanacaine shuts off the itch like a switch, fast. Only Lanacaine cream works on contact with the nerves that cause dry skin itch. Look, Vaseline Intensive Care can't. Jergens can't. These can't. And Lanacaine Deep moisturizes too. Helps heal rough, dry skin. For dry skin itch, every itch.
Lanacaine does shut off the itch like a switch, fast.
Tonight, it's a new year. The stock market is up. Interest rates are down. Is America's sick economy healing? A look at a typical family living with the economy on CNN's Prime News, 8 p.m. Eastern tonight.
Let's check in now with Lou Waters for a look at what's coming up on Early Prime. Lou?
Right, Catherine. At the top of the hour, our U.S. viewers will get an update on the case against accused mass murderer Jeffrey Dahmer. Dahmer was in a Milwaukee courtroom today, entering a plea. Also on Early Prime, an update on a New York woman who cares for 8 children. We'll see how she's living with the economy. And some cancer survivors will talk about the problems of fitting back into the world once their treatment has been completed. Join Cheryl Atkinson and me for those stories and more at the top of the hour on Early Prime.
Thanks, Lou. And now to Iraq once again. Blame it on the Allied coalition or blame it on Saddam Hussein. One way to glimpse the future in Iraq and to learn more about the past year there is to see and hear the children. CNN's John Holliman now files this report from Baghdad.
The most familiar image the world has of Iraqi children is this one. Large crowds chanting anti-Western, pro-Saddam Hussein slogans. Although they're smiling, their words are words of anger. Bush, Bush, listen to us. We support Saddam Hussein. Another chant urges the West to lift the embargo on Iraq. Inside the classrooms, these 9-year-olds are learning math. They haven't taken off their heavy coats because it's very cold, and there's no heat. Electricity is rationed, turned off twice a week for 3 hours at a time. The 3 million children of Iraq have serious problems a year after the war. Many of the youngest are unable to get enough to eat. Chronic malnutrition affects as many as 300,000 Iraqi children today. UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, is trying to help.
Are you able to provide food to 300,000 children a day?
Not yet. The program just started. I think our aim is, for the time being, 100,000.
Dr. Mirzi came to Baghdad from Africa, where he worked to feed the hungry in Ethiopia. He says it's not that bad here, but Iraq comes close.
And it was an appalling vision for me that I've been in Africa, Mozambique and Burkina Faso, to see so many children at once with so severe cases.
The results of malnutrition can be seen in the streets of Saddam City, a planned public housing community near Baghdad. Children who look hungry and don't have the energy to play. But the most shocking effects of the food shortage are found here, in Baghdad's best children's hospital. Touring the wards with director Rafa Aziz, there's evidence of severe malnutrition everywhere. 2 weeks ago, this mother was given enough food to last her and her baby about a week. But the food ran out, and the baby is back. Special infant formula costs $240 a month, more than most Iraqis earn. One result of malnutrition, blindness.
You can see she lost her eye because of the vitamin A deficiency due to undernutrition.
Food is not the only problem for children. Despite help from UNICEF and other voluntary organizations, there's not enough medicine for Iraqi children either. This is the medicine locker for the cancer ward at Children's Hospital. There are some drugs here, but as Dr. Aziz explains, not enough to treat cancer in children.
It is very frustrating for a doctor to see a patient who's dying in front of his eyes and he can do nothing for him, especially if you have been treating this patient for years and he has been doing well, and then because you cannot give him the proper treatment anymore, you lose him.
Sasreen is an 11-year-old with cancer who was getting better until the medicine ran out. She can no longer eat solid food and tries to maintain her strength by drinking milk. When the doctor tells her that televising her plight might help end the embargo, she smiles, for the first time in a long time. As she continues to walk the corridors, Dr. Aziz says Sasreen probably won't make it.
I don't know how you keep your professional detachment. You ever go home at night and burst into tears?
Yeah, well, it happens, of course. I mean, my husband always tells me I have to forget the patients at the hospital when I go home. But I don't think you can, even if you try.
At UNICEF, they're trying to help, but they know what they're doing is not enough.
I hope that the hospital you visited receives some of our drugs, but certainly what we bring in is not sufficient. To run a good, sizable program in this country, you need 100 million. And now our average is, for health is 7 or so million. So it's not really sufficient.
UNICEF asked the world for $83 million for Iraqi children. The world responded with $33 million. In addition to providing food and medicine, the Children's Fund is attempting to clean up Iraq's water supply. About half their budget is going to buy chlorine and other chemicals to purify the drinking water, and pumps and spare parts to repair the sewers, many of which exploded when loss of electric power caused sewage to back up in drain pipes. Back at school, children are taught to blame the U.S. for sewage backups and almost everything else that's wrong in their lives.
They teach us then United States of America do that because it wants to kill the children. Why they do that?
Since the war, tens of thousands of Iraqi children have died from malnutrition and disease.
And polio, the crippling disease of children, which in all of 1989 touched only a dozen Iraqi children, is now affecting 20 a month. Experts say this once modern healthcare system won't be restored to that status until sometime in the next century. John Holliman, CNN, Baghdad.
And tomorrow, John Holliman continues his reports from Baghdad, a look from the ground at targets in the air war against Iraq, the devastation and anger that remain.
And up next on CNN World Report, world trade talks press ahead despite widespread disagreement over agricultural subsidies.
Across the world, phones are ringing. Who's calling?
Hello, Mom.
People who have the AT&T Reach Out World plan. They're saving an average of 20% on calls to friends and family in over 50 countries and areas. Even if you spend only $12 a month on international calls, you'll save on your calls to Mexico, Canada, across the Atlantic, or the Pacific. Dial 1-800-258-3231. Then go ahead and call, and the longer you talk, the more you'll save. The low $3 monthly fee gives you over 120 hours a week to save. You'll even get a state-to-state discount. Across America, people are signing up for the AT&T Reach Out World plan. Because with these savings and all the quality and service you expect from AT&T, it's our best value in international calling. Sign up now.
They say diversify to reduce risk, but I'm no financial expert.
I know how to build a house, not a portfolio.
How do you judge each investment? When to buy or sell?
And who has time to follow the market?
Because most people can't be masters at everything, Fidelity Investments created the Fidelity Asset Manager. In one easy mutual fund, it seeks to diversify among and across stocks, bonds, and money markets. And Fidelity professionals carefully watch your investment for you, gradually adjusting your assets to keep pace with changes in the market.
It's designed for those of us who aren't financial experts.
Call now for this free fact kit on the Fidelity Asset Manager.
I called. You should too. There's no pressure to invest. There's no sales charge either. All your money works for you.
Diversification made simple.